What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, March 16th. We have a 5-game college basketball slate to dive into for today. Now, I found a play for each of those games that I like, so we will break those down and analyze them and go over each of those plays. But before we do, let's take a look back at yesterday, what we took and how that ended up going down. Put out a part 1 and a part 2 yesterday. 2 parts, man, 2 different videos. I hope that you guys were able to catch both of those. There was such a big slate, man, so I broke it into 2 videos, kind of tried to take care of that early morning and early afternoon section of the slate, right? And then the second video is kind of that later afternoon into the evening. So, like I said, hopefully you were able to catch those. We do sweep the board on that first video, 4-0 on our plays, and then we cash on the first play of the second video, right? Got 5-0 start. Like, yeah, let's go. And then we lose the last 2 plays, man. I was gonna say, man, that first play that we lost, that North Texas game, I'm watching that game against UAB, and I'm like, man, even because North Texas came back a couple times. They got it close. They got it within like 3 points, I think, with a few minutes to go. And I'm sitting here watching it at the time, like, even if they win, I'm going to feel like guilty about cashing this one. Like, it'd be the first time in my life that I'm like, I don't feel good about cashing the bet because they just played sloppy. That was a horrible game. UAB bullied them, man. Just a physical squad. Them dudes on UAB are big, man. Those are some big dudes. Like, they look like they pros. They don't look like college kids, so man, it's just it didn't even look like it was a game, man. It didn't even look close. Northern Texas, anytime they got close, UAB is coming down the other end of the court, splashing threes in their face, with the shot clock expiring. So just a bad read on that one. But overall, a good day. 5-2 on the overall. We cash out on the day. Nothing to be complaining about. So let's go ahead and dive into the games for today. Let's get that positive energy from yesterday, roll it right into here. Let's finish out this weekend strong, man. Let's cash out again on Sunday. Let's go over these 5 plays, man. I got Yale and Cornell starting off the day. Tips off at noon. This is the Ivy League Championship. I was originally looking at the total in this one. I was looking at the under. It was sitting at 160.5. I'm like, this is way too high for a championship game. We got an NCAA tourney bid on the line here. Way too high of a number, man. The defenses are going to come to play. Cornell is a team that likes to play at a fast pace. They're sitting at 21st in terms of adjusted tempo. So I can see how they got, to this high total to begin with. But this number is going down already, right? I think a lot of people were on the same wavelengths as me, thinking wise, like, no, that's way too high of a number. So it's already down to 158.5. So I think what I'm going to do in this one, same thing we did yesterday with the Yale game, right? I think I'm going to run it back and do a same-game parlay and take Yale on the money line and look at a alternate total under and kind of boost that number up higher. I'll probably go even higher than that 160.5 that it was set at originally, right? If we're going to parlay it together, why not? Let's get some extra insurance with the points there. So let's look at the money line part of that first. Yale sitting at 74th overall in the Ken Palm rankings. They're 61st offensively, 105th defensively. They play at an adjusted tempo rate of 175, so they definitely, they're not flying up and down the court like Cornell is. They're going to try to slow things down a little bit. Cornell is 128th overall. They're 62nd offensively and 260th defensively. So that's where they're going to struggle in this one, going up against that 61st ranked Yale offense. Each of these teams, they've played 15 games in the conference this year. Cornell won 10 of those. Yale won 14-1 in conference play this year. And then we look at them as a favorite. Yale is 20-3 straight up. Cornell coming into this one as a dog has gone 4-4 this year. So we jump over here to Outlier real quick. Let's look at these guys on the year. Cornell has won 5 games in a row, right? And that's after dropping 4 straight. Yale, on the other hand, though, they've won 7 of the last 10 between these two head-to-head. They've won 17 of their last 19 now straight up. You see all these green W's over here? Yale's been balling, guys. And then in terms of the under, just now recording, guys, this line is dropping still. It's now at 157.5. It's still going down, so definitely we want to hop on this one quickly, and it's definitely going to be a parlay now for sure. I'm looking at it right now, actually. Looking at FanDuel, we can put the money line with an under alternate of 164.5, and it's going to give us plus 107. I'm going to lock this in, man, because that line just keeps dropping, like I said. But looking at the under, these two have met in conference tourney play each of the last 2 years, and they met in the semis, not the championship round, and they still hit the under each time. They slow down, they grind it out. These regular season matchups, they're finishing in the high 180s, 190, and then I think that conference tourney game was like 67-59 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, they get into these tournament games, and they're slowing it down. They're playing defense. They're grinding it out, and I don't see how. If this is what we've seen from them in the last 2 years in the semis, what are we going to see here in the championship game with a tourney bid on the line? With that considered, defense is going to be ramped up. Pressure is on. So I expect a lower scoring game. Only one of the 6 Ivy League tourney championship games so far that have been played since this tournament started in 2007, only one of those has hit over this line right here. This line is high for a championship game. It's high. And then just jumping over here to Outlier, looking at this at that adjusted, that alternate total of 164.5, we can see Cornell in their last 5, they're only hitting at a 40% rate, right? And that's that adjusted tempo. Like I said, they like to fly up and down the court, but Yale is going to slow things down. We can see that they have hit under this 164.5 at a 100% rate in the last 5 games. And then just on the year as well, we can see Yale at a 79% rate. And just a lot of green here, right? A lot of green. We look at Cornell on the season, they're at a 57% rate to that under. So I like this, guys. And like I said, we can get that combined with the money line for Yale on the money line. Over there at FanDuel, we can get it at plus money, plus 107. So I've just jumped on that in the midst of recording because, like I said, that total, it's dropping. It actually opened up at 161. I thought it was 160.5, so it was actually just a little bit higher than what I thought even originally. And it's all the way down to 157.5 already. So, I think by tip-off, we could see that line get even lower. So if you want to get in on this one, I definitely would as soon as possible. And the next game we're looking at is going to be Tennessee and Florida for the SEC championship game. I'm looking at the total in this one. I'm looking at the under as well. I'm sitting at 143.5. I'm looking at that under, guys. The under has hit 8 of the last 10 and 4 straight head-to-head between these two. It's the championship game with a 1 seed on the line. It's another game that I expect to be high intensity with locked-in defenses from 2 of the top defensive units in the nation. Now, looking at Ken Palm rankings, Tennessee is 3rd defensively, Florida 7th. Florida will try to push the pace. They sit at 67th in terms of adjusted tempo, but Tennessee plays at a snail pace. They're going to slow it down and grind it out as much as possible. They're sitting at 348th in terms of adjusted tempo in the Ken Palms. They're definitely going to slow this one down, guys. We can jump over here to Outlier. Let's look at both of these teams, their defensive stats, right? We can see both these squads are holding their opponents under 70 points per game. Tennessee holding their opponents to just under 62 points per game. They're both holding their opponent's field goal percentage under 40%. Both of them are holding their opponent's three-point percentage under 30%. So it's hard to get points against either of these defenses. So I think it's going to be hard for either. These are good offenses, don't get me wrong, but I do think that the defense shines in this one in this championship game, like I said, with that 1 seed on the line. Now, money's been flying in on the over. Just full transparency. It opened up at 139.5. This line did. It's at 143.5 now, right? Money's been flying in on that over. I mean, we can pull that up and see real quick. 80% of the public bet, 85% of the public money is all over this over. I gotta fade the public on this one, man. I don't see it personally. Like I said, these are 2 teams with good offenses. I know Tennessee's defense is not what it's been in years past, but it's still ranked 7th overall in Ken Palm rankings for a reason, guys. It's a good defense. It's a championship game with a 1 seed on the line. I'm leaning under on this one for sure. The next up, going to be looking at George Mason and VCU. I'm looking at the total in this one, looking at under 127.5. It's another championship game. It's another under that we're looking at. And I'm also looking at George Mason catching the points here, plus 8.5, man. Seems like a lot of points, and we'll dive into that here in a second, too, and talk about that. But let's look at this under first. Let's hit 3 straight now between these two head-to-head. This is 2 of the top defenses in the nation, man, and they both like to play at a slow pace, and it's a conference tourney championship game, right? So I can see why this total's sitting at 127.5. It's super, super low, and I get why. VCU sitting at 21st defensively in the Ken Palms, 241st adjusted tempo. George Mason, 22nd defensively, 318th for adjusted tempo. So like I said, 2 top defenses that like to play it slow, like to grind it out. So both defenses, man, they've also just been locking up through the tournament so far. In both of their games, George Mason gave up only 65 and 64 points so far, with VCU giving up just 55 and 59. So opponents haven't even cracked 60 points on them yet. And then you also got to consider, man, VCU has struggled shooting from the perimeter so far in this tournament. They're hitting just over 26% of their threes, and they were only able to put 62 points up yesterday. And George Mason, guys, they've been hot. They have been hot offensively, and I see them keeping this game close. That's why I'm looking at them on the points here, right? Because you're going to let me catch all these points, 8.5 points in a championship game with a team that's been blazing hot offensively. I like that. I like that they'd be able to keep this one close, but I do still like VCU's defense. I think that this is going to be the toughest defense that George Mason has seen so far in this tournament. I think that'll help us see a fourth straight cash to the under between these two. You can see Outlier only goes back just the last 2 years. They've cashed 3 straight unders. This would be the fourth straight if we can get a cash here today. Let's check out this insight from Outlier as well. The under is hit in 4 of George Mason's last 5 games versus top 25 scoring defenses. That's an 80% rate. So a lot playing in our favor here. I know the number is low. I do, but I still like it, guys. I do. So, and I mean, this could be another one too. If that number's too low for you, parlay that thing, man. Parlay it with the points with Mason. We could bump that up into the 130s. You could get George Mason with the points and then get that up into the double digits. I think that's a surefire win right there. Personally, I don't want to call anything a lock, but that feels really good looking at it from that perspective. That might even be how I play it now that I'm sitting here talking about it. I love a good little parlay, a good little 2-leg parlay that pushes like a minus 110 bet into like the low pluses. You know what I mean? Like that plus 110, plus 120, and all I need is 2 legs to cash. Like, hell yeah, I love doubling my money. Let's get it. All right, next up, looking at UAB and Memphis. Man, no, UAB, you ain't catching me slipping 2 days in a row. Now, this one opened up. They were catching 4.5 points, man. It's now dropped down to 3.5. Earlier, I looked at it. I could get plus 5.5 at minus 110 on DraftKings. And I do not know why I didn't punch that in, man. I was just kind of looking over all the games on the slate, seeing where the odds were and how they had shifted from what I looked at it last night. It was like, ooh, look at this, man. I can get plus 5.5 now. No, not anymore. I can get it for minus 140, not minus 110. But no, we can still get that plus 4.5 though, minus 120 odds. So I do like that one still. B had the tougher opponent yesterday in North Texas, and like I said, they made him look like a joke. You know what I mean? They had the tougher opponent than Memphis in North Texas for sure. North Texas ranked 72nd overall in the Ken Palms. They managed to beat them by 10. They held control of that game from start to finish. And like I said, they bullied them, man. They're just a tough physical squad. Big, strong dudes hitting buckets when it counts, man. UAB looks ready. They do. They look like they could be a sleeper in this tournament, also, man. I'm not sleeping on them again personally. Memphis, they led the 138th overall ranked Tulane yesterday by 7 at the half, and then they almost squandered that game away, man. They just eked out a 1-point win. And then the prior match before that yesterday was against Wichita State, 135th ranked, and that was also a battle, right? They were tied at the half, and they only pulled out a 3-point win in that one. UAB, on the other hand, they dominated their tourney opener against Eastern Carolina, putting up 94 points and winning by 17. UAB, they've also covered in 3 of their last 4. Memphis has only covered in 1 of their last 4. I just think UAB is playing better ball right now. Memphis has had some inconsistencies coming into this tournament and just have not. Like I said, man, UAB has the more impressive victories against the tougher squads. And Memphis is just kind of like struggling to get by. So, man, give me UAB in this one plus the points, man. Like I said, you ain't catching me slipping 2 days in a row. All right, guys, and then the 5th and final game on the slate today, we're looking at Wisconsin and Michigan. Wisconsin's minus 3.5-point favorites in this one, and I do like Wisconsin laying the points, man. The Badgers are coming alive at the right time. I think they pull it out, man, and they win this conference tournament. Look, Michigan, though, they've won 3 straight head-to-head between these two. Full transparency, right? But these have been close games. With one of those games going to overtime, and then the other 2, the last 2 games between these two head-to-head, they were decided by a combined total of just 7 points. Wisconsin comes into this one, they're 26-8 straight up, 22-12 against the spread. Michigan, 24-9 straight up, they're just 15-18 to the number this year. Wisconsin's also 15-9 against the spread as a favorite, but coming into this one with equal rest, we can see that Michigan is 4-4, Wisconsin 10-1. So definitely some things trend-wise that is pointing us to the Wisconsin direction for sure. And then looking at the Ken Palms, Michigan sitting at 26 overall, 37th offensively, 17th defensively, and 61st in terms of pace. Not a bad squad whatsoever. Michigan has had a decent season for sure, but Wisconsin sits at 11th overall. They have the 10th ranked offense, the 33rd ranked defense, and they play at a pace of 148 for adjusted tempo. So I like Wisconsin in this one, guys, for sure. We can look at these two on the money line in their last 5 games just to kind of see, man. I don't think that Michigan has had as impressive victories as Wisconsin, right? They do beat Purdue by 18. It's just, this isn't the Purdue team of they've just been super inconsistent. So I don't hold a lot of stock into that victory there as this like great defining victory. Maryland, they only beat by 1. And then you look at Wisconsin and they beat Michigan State by 3 yesterday, right? This is the same Michigan State team that beat Michigan by 17 just a week ago. And then they beat UCLA by 16. prior to that, coming into that game. They beat a Northwestern squad that's been playing good basketball as well, despite the injuries that they're going through. So I just think that the more impressive victories are lying on the Wisconsin side, that they're playing the better basketball overall, and just only 3.5 points, guys. Like that's it. I like that a lot. So we can get that at -110 over there at ESPN Bet and Bet 365. Pretty damn good price too. So definitely like that one. This one opened up at 2.5. It's moved up to 3.5 so far. So we're not getting the best of the number at 3.5. But we could look at that as an alternate too. Look at that 2.5. It's not, it's not super juice, only sitting at -130. So definitely some options here. And that's going to do it here for another video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the content in the video, and I hope you found it helpful and useful today. And if you did, please do not forget to smash that like button down there and hit subscribe if you have not already. You don't want to miss any of the content that we are dropping here on a daily. You got Ev, Tassos, and myself handing out free picks for you guys between the NBA, college basketball, and it just keeps going and going, man. WNBA will be coming back around. MLB will be coming back around. NFL, NBA, we cover it all, guys. So you're not missing anything here if you hit that subscribe button, and it don't cost you a thing, man. So I will see you guys on the next video. Have a great weekend, man. Let's finish this one strong.